What great movie or show had the worst ending? Babylon 5 was originally conceived as a 5-year story arc. But around season 3, they thought they were going to get cancelled, so they hurriedly shoehorned all the season 5 story into season 4. Then they didn't get cancelled, and they spent season 5 pretty much just putzing around with nothing to do. The series is being rebooted, maybe they'll do it right this time. House of Cards. The final season was always going to be bad without Spacey, but holy God, was it atrocious. So much worse than it ever needed to be. It's like the writers just completely gave up. The last episode ended with an event that was supposed to be completely shocking to everyone who had followed the show for 6 seasons. But my reaction was only complete apathy, that's how bad it was. Alf. The final season ends with our alien friend captured by the US Air Force, with the strong implication that he is going to be vivisected. And the show just ends there. Sweet dreams, kids. This was, of course, meant to be a cliffhanger for a 5th season, but then the series was cancelled. It stood for a further 6 years until a TV movie was finally released to cap off the series. It's far from great, though, but at least it finally made it clear that Alf doesn't fucking die at the end. Meanwhile, all us traumatized kid fans grew up assuming the worst about our furry alien buddy. I'm still upset about Dexter. After getting back on track with season 7, they almost purposely derail everything for season 8. There was no satisfactory development for any of the characters. It would have been amazing to see Dexter confront his ex, to watch how his co-workers reacted to the news, to see him on the run and playing a cat and mouse game with the rest of the cops. Batista would be enraged if he discovered that his 2 closest friends had murdered his love, and so forth. Instead we get Dex becoming a lumberjack. Not an amazing movie, but not a terrible one. The Giver. It's originally a book, and recently, I read the book and then watched the movie. The thing about the book's ending that was good was it left the reader up to interpret it, but the movie kind of felt rushed and didn't leave the watcher to interpret it so much as be confused about what really happened. Not to mention any person that watched the movie without any knowledge of the book probably would have been confused. Game of Thrones feels noteworthy not just for how bad the ending was, but for how it just vanished from the zeitgeist. You couldn't swing a bat in a game store without hitting posters, books, Funkos, whatever. All that stuff felt like it vanished overnight. Like we were all silently agreeing that the less we acknowledged the show ever existed, the easier it'd be to dull the pain. Scrubs, the entire last season shouldn't exist. Stargate SG-1, they went super weird in it. Season 8 should have been the last season, and the Anubis arc really went way more fantasy than science fiction. Lucy, seriously. I can accept that we don't make full use of our brain, and that there is probably much more possible that we just can't understand. But how does learning how to unlock your full potential suddenly give you the power to be everywhere? Just doesn't make sense at all. It could have been a fun/good movie but really went stupid at the end. Supernatural, Imho. Did Dean dirty. To go through all he went through just to get killed by some rando vampire is ridiculous. No explanation as to why Jack left monsters in the world. Don't know if the finale was rewritten due to COVID, but even if it was, they could have come up with something better than that. The Office should have ended when Michael Scott left. Especially season 9, they were really struggling. I especially hate the mishandling of James Spader. Spader came in as this awe-inspiring Magnus of confidence, and then the writers tried to turn him into Michael Scott and utterly destroyed his character. BBC Sherlock. Where do I begin? The show is technically stuck in limbo and not cancelled. The first 2 seasons are a lot of fun. I heard rumors that the 2nd season was supposed to be the final season, but the show was so well received that they pushed for a 3rd season. Once again, this is a rumor. Now the 3rd season, there was no way they were going to satisfy the answer to the cliffhanger to season 2. Which is why we got like 4 or 5 different solutions. I was fine with this. However, the introduction of Mary was a problem. I didn't like how they incorporated her character into the duo. She just didn't fit. However, the biggest problem with season 3 was what Sherlock did in the very end. His solution to the problem destroyed his character. He was no longer Sherlock but instead a murderer. So season 4 begins and they basically try to retcon what Sherlock did and they killed off Mary. The first episode wasn't great but they tried to fix the mistakes. Episode 2 was great and it was probably based off of Jimmy Savile. More relatable for the British audience since Savile wasn't well known in the States. However, the reveal at the end of episode 2 was a big WTF and here comes our next big villain. I was pumped. Then episode 3 drops and it's a huge cluster of what the hell were they thinking? And now the series is basically stuck in limbo. A combination of reception of the last season and of course our two leads and especially Cumberbatch being huge stars now.